Good afternoon, fellow human beings of planet Earth. It is that time again. Everything else that can productively be done for the day is done, and even the laundry's going. So, it's two reasons for that mainly before I get on this little device and start recording videos is one, Panther loves me and she's always awesome even if I'm completely lazy and sleep all day and don't clean anything, but I like to leave no room for error for her to be happy and radiant as she usually and always is when she gets home. So now the kitchen's clean, house is clean, laundry's going. There's no room for error at this point unless I do something aggressive, which tends not to happen either. But that leads me to my point for the day in this video, which is, we talk a lot about diet coming into the mouth, right? The things we eat and how that affects our energy and, just how we interact with people and just our livelihood in general. But there's other aspects to diet beyond just food that I don't think people really think about very often. And the one that I'm going to focus on today is sound, okay? So we consume sound, right? We listen to music on the way, on the way to work and the way back. Throughout our lives, we encounter all these sounds, whether from nature, from birds, from cars, motorcycles, helicopters, all these different sounds that we don't necessarily choose. Well, we choose our environment, so we choose those in a sense, but then also what kind of music we listen to. And having just come from the gym, that's a very ready point in my mind. Everybody knows kind of intuitively at a certain point, like I can work out just listen to the music at the gym, but I generally don't like the radio as much as I like my own music. And so, but generally you can't, there's certain music that corresponds to different times and different attitudes, right? Like, in general, you'll have something with heavy bass, like something with a beat to it, or like something with just a lot of force, like rap or rock, and I think most people that, just from like a general survey of observation, most people seem to go with like some angry, powerful music, rap and rock, and just like, I'm gonna get through this workout, I'll lift this weight, like, which is awesome. And I listen, to that kind of music for a long time working out, and there's nothing wrong with it per se. I would say that over the last few years I've kind of had an epiphany as to what's interesting to me is you're deriving your strength from anger. And that was kind of interesting to me because, as a redhead, I've got a level of rage that few other humans can possibly comprehend, but I transmute that through language into something creative like this right here. And so it's interesting if we derive our strength from anger, that I'm not judging anything, but that's not necessarily the strongest emotional foundation to be living our lives on and deriving that force, that strength that we're generating from anger. So I try and listen to music that's powerful, but not necessarily like angry with that kind of violent component, especially like if I'm listening these days, like if I'm listening, to the radio and something like really angry comes on, I actually can't lift as much weight. It actually reduces my strength because I would say, based on my own appraisal, that I'm deriving my strength from a higher emotional level of power, okay? There's different levels of emotional power, and anger is one of them, corresponding with the base, of the body and the spine. There's also things like, sense of just, competition, ability, like, love for a person motivates a lot of strength. People can perform superhuman feats when they're motivated by a powerful sense of love. The instinct to speak out, to say something, the instinct to actually look, like all of these things, like, are associated with emotional impulses that are just as strong as anger, or arguably when harnessed even more. And when you can combine all these different emotions into just that raw emotional power that is inherent in every biological organism, to me that's when you're really getting into strength. And I'm not saying I'm like, power lifter, but I would say I definitely impress like at least a few people at the gym. Like I'm a pretty skinny guy, but I'm not weak. Like I can definitely move myself. and I can definitely resist the force of gravity, that weak little pathetic force that supposedly rules the universe. And so basically what I'm trying to get at is that, you know, we consume music just like we consume food. We consume sound. And, you know, there's studies that have been done where people that are trying to get off heroin, for example, they stand a much like a huge percentage greater likelihood of actually staying off of heroin if they change other behavior patterns, namely specifically the music that they listen to. If they go back to listening to the music they listened to while they were doing heroin, they almost unequivocally revert right back. That music triggers a part of their memory and sense of identity that they just immediately revert back. So this is kind of important if we're trying to evolve, trying to build newer, bigger, better, more fit and apt, you know, parts of ourselves and develop our lifestyle so that we can be more happy and achieve more of the things we want to achieve. I think we have to be conscious of what sort of emotions we're relying on, and I think that music is a huge part of that. And I have been known by some in my life as kind of a complainer, not about problems in general, but I get upset about shitty music. Yeah, I have hated the radio with a passion more intense than the Westboro Baptist Church for a long time, since I was a little kid, you know, and it's not so much that every single thing that comes on the radio is bad, but it's just this general vibration of just inane materialism and just, yeah, I'm the best, yeah, I'm high on Oxycontin, yeah, look at my bottle. It's just, and then you got the pop side of the spectrum, country, which is talking about their fucking barbecues in the backyard, which is great, but it's not really inspiring to me. And there's great music being produced all the time. There's so much good music, and for some reason it's only on like way out there, like radio stations that are just like, you know, from universities and stuff that actually play any of it. You know, lately I've gotten into listening to the classical station broadcasted from USC, and compared to how I used to complain about the radio at Vitamin Shop and all these other places where I worked, I mean, wow, it is a whole 180 when you listen to classical music all day. And I put on my own music, but in general, the default is classical. And, you know, instead of blase, 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 all this stupid-ass rap stuck in the back of my head at the end of the workday, I've got, like, Johann Sebastian Bach, like, Toccata and Fugue, like, Beethoven going in the back of my mind. And instead of that, I hate this music reaction, I have this sense of, I just start generating all these huge thoughts, like big ideas and, you know, complex, like, articulate, you know, conclusions start just like flowing through my mind. And it's just really amazing, like, as I move through this process of raising my personal vibration, like, you know, and again, it's not spirituality for the sake of spirituality, it's spirituality for the sake of experiencing bliss. When we are clean, when we are organized, when we are happy, we can basically radiate our identity without any of that interference, and I call that happiness. I call that living life without struggle and without suffering, and I think that's how we're supposed to live. That's, I guess, my own opinion, but I would say I'm not the only one. But anyway, that's my point with this video today, is just be conscious of the music that you're listening to and understand that it's very, very correlated with the behavior and lifestyle that we're living. You know, if we are just going to listen to the same old music that we've always listened to, I mean, that's, if you like being in that state of mind, awesome, keep going. But if we're trying to ascend into a kind of a higher state of mind where we can actually articulate ourselves and receive the messages and love of others and actually evolve into this higher society that we're all kind of intuitively, you know, moving into right now, I think we need to be conscious of what we're listening to and how it affects us. And yeah, I would say go to the gym, turn on whatever music makes you powerful, but, you know, like Robin Schultz, his album Prayer, like, that's the one that I just listened to, and that's, if you want a good example of just powerful music that doesn't have any content of aggression, like, damn, like, I was going hard, all right? So anyway, much love, and I hope you all listen closely to the song that's being played by the earth, most especially, because when we hear that song, we tend to not have a hard time making right decisions, and all of the correct answers to all of our major problems seem to just come out of the ether itself. So, wholeness and balanced vibrations to you all.